You already spend so much on clothes, my husband said in front of everyone when he secretly drained our joint account of 6 million rubles and gave the money to his mother. However, when the notary read my grandmother's will, everyone froze in shock. Anna turned on the kitchen light, and warm comfort instantly filled the small space of their apartment in the residential area of Taliot. The autumn evening had already descended on the city streets, and a light rain that had begun during the day was knocking on the window. She took the chicken out of the refrigerator, then started chopping vegetables for dinner, her hands working mechanically while her mind were far apart today. It was precisely 8 years since they first met, not an anniversary date, but it was still special. Victor did not recall it in the morning, but Anna chose not to give it any weight because, lately, Victor had been preoccupied with work and frequently stayed late talking on the phone in a low voice before leaving for another room. Anna dispelled suspicions, and when the phone on the table rang with a message, Anna wiped her hands with a kitchen towel and checked the screen notification from the bank card transactions. She scowled, opened the app for a few seconds, and simply stared at the numbers, not believing what she was seeing. Her hands were shaking when she dialed Victor's number, long gut key, and then an answering machine. She tried again, but the same thing happened, and her heart was thumping in her throat. Perhaps it was a mistake on the part of the hackers and scammers, so Anna frantically dialed the bank number after a lengthy wait and redirects, and discovered only one thing. The transaction was completed in accordance with all the rules, using a card and a code. They had to go to dinner with Victor's parents today for a monthly family get-together at the Dubrava Cafe on Leningradskaya Street. It was his mother-in-law's 58th birthday, which Ludmila Petrovna delicately emphasized was not a round date, but worthy of being celebrated in a good place. When Victor got home, it was already the start of 6, and he arrived late. He smiled and walked energetically into the apartment. The system did not record any malfunctions. "Good evening, sweetheart. I apologize for not answering. I was at a crucial meeting and left my phone in the car. Are you ready? Mom will complain if we're late." He kissed her on the cheek and vanished into the bathroom. Anna stood with the phone in her hand, saying, "Maybe not here, not now, before the family dinner, not to ruin mother-in-law's holiday." They drove in silence. Anna looked out the window at the wet streets, where people were rushing home under umbrellas. Talyati was getting ready for the evening. The Dubrava Cafe welcomed them with warmth and the aroma of freshly baked goods, old wooden beams on the ceiling, subdued lighting, and soft music. Victor's parents were already seated at a large table in the corner, and Ludmila Petrovna, who was small-jawed and had perfectly styled blonde hair, was wearing a new blue dress and pearl earrings that Anna had never seen before. Semyon Ivanovich, Victor's stepfather, smiled shyly, giving his clean beard a gentle pat. "Happy birthday, Mom." Chrysanthemums and a small box with a silver bracelet inside. "Thank you, dear." Ludmila Petrovna gave her daughter-in-law a slightly cool hug before turning to her son, and her face lit up. "Congratulations, Mom." Victor took an envelope with best wishes from his jacket's inside pocket and gave it to his mother. Anna's eyebrows shot up, and the gifts inside were something they hadn't decided upon after their shared gift. Victor never gave his mother anything separately. "I ordered us wine and snacks," said Semyon Ivanovich. "Let's raise our glasses." "Thank you, especially you, son. You have no idea how much your gift means to me." Dinner continued, and the waiters brought the dish. The conversation flowed slowly, and Anna hardly participated, only smiling and nodding in the appropriate places. Her mind was racing with questions that she dared not ask, and finally, when Semyon Ivanovich went to the bar to order cognac, she leaned towards Victor. "Vidya, for my lovely wife, may all her dreams come true." "Have you noticed yet?" Victor whispered. "I wanted to tell you today. I'll explain later." But Anna appeared to have broken through the inner barrier that had been holding her back all evening. It suddenly collapsed. "You'll explain. Where did our money go? The money we'd been saving for an apartment. Victor, that's almost all our savings." She tried to speak quietly, but her excitement raised her voice with every word. "What happened to our account? $6 million were taken out." Victor twitched, his face slightly tensed, but his expression quickly returned to normal. I transferred money to Mom to purchase the country house she had always dreamed of in the cottage village Lesnai Prostery. Anna froze abruptly because there was not enough air in the village that Victor was referring to. What happened? Nothing, Mom. Anna just wondered where I spent the money from our account. Lyudmila Petrovna made big eyes, but something in her expression told Anna that her mother-in-law knew exactly what was being discussed. Victor twirled a glass of wine in his hands and placed it on the table with a little more force than was necessary. The most costly in the suburbs, and she and her husband didn't even think about it for themselves, realizing that it was well beyond their means. "You know what, this is a birthday present?" Victor said. "Yes, dear, but Mom deserves better." She had always dreamed of owning a home, but what about our apartment? For 8 years, Vitya, we saved money for the down payment, and we would buy it later.
Don't be dramatic.
Later, when we denied ourselves everything, I didn't buy anything for myself for years, and we didn't take a vacation to save money for our own house. 6 million rubles. Victor straightened up suddenly, his cheeks turning bright red from the wine and annoyance. That's enough. Anya, don't embarrass us. You already spend so much on clothes and other nonsense, and this is our common money, and I have the right to dispose of it. The words hit Anna like a slap in the face, and she looked at her husband in shock, not believing what she was hearing. Tears were already welling up in their eyes, and the guests at the nearby tables were already turning to them. Victor made the right choice. I've always dreamed of a house like this with a veranda and a garden, and you young people will still earn enough for an apartment. Anna slowly got up from the table, feeling her knees shake, and said, "Excuse me, I need to go to the ladies' room." Tears were already streaming down her cheeks when she closed the door of the toilet cubicle behind her. Shmati last bought herself new clothes more than a year ago, when the old coat finally became unusable. Returning to the table, Anna found that the atmosphere had changed. Semyon Ivanovich returned with cognac and now sat with a stony expression. Victor nervously. The feeling of betrayal squeezed her chest. How could Victor do this without saying a word to her after 8 years of life together, 8 years of trust and common plans? She washed herself with cold water and wiped away her tears. Her normally lively brown eyes appeared dull as she looked at her reflection in the mirror. Semyon Ivanovich abruptly said, "I have tomorrow." He tapped his fingers on the table, but only Lyudmila Petrovna appeared happy as she looked at some pictures on her phone. "Look, Vitenka the realtor sent me some more pictures of the house, and look at the backyard. You can make such a beautiful garden there, and what a wonderful terrace." "I'll call a taxi," Anna said quietly, taking her purse. "I'll call a taxi, because my head started to hurt." Victor gave her a frustrated look. The atmosphere at the table became tense due to the early meeting. Lyudmila Petrovna looked at her husband with disapproval, but she said nothing. Anna got up and put on her coat again. "Happy birthday, Lyudmila Petrovna." "Thank you, darling," she answered without even looking up from her phone. Semyon Ivanovich then got up and said, "I'll see you out, daughter." They went out into the street in silence as the rain got worse, and for a few minutes they stood there, staring at the wet street and the passing cars. "I didn't know anything," she said. When he finally said, "Lyudmila told me only yesterday that I tried to dissuade her," Anna felt sorry for him out of the blue. "It's not your fault," he said, adding, because Semyon Ivanovich was always in the shadow of his domineering wife and always gave in to her in important decisions. The taxi pulled up, and Anna sat down in the back seat, hunching over more than usual. The road home stretched endlessly, and Tolyatti, which is normally so familiar and dear, seemed like a foreign city today. The apartment greeted her with silence and the smell of an uncooked dinner. Anna slowly entered the kitchen, turned off the oven, and left in a hurry, not feeling like eating. She poured herself some tea and sat by the window, looking at the lights of the night city. After 8 years together, I believed everything he said. How could he have done this really all this time? I didn't know who I was living with. $6 million, the amount they had saved for so long, every thousand set aside, every refusal. Even in the most unsettling thoughts, Anna could not imagine such a betrayal. The phone rang at midnight, after she had already decided that her husband would spend the night with his mother, and the name that appeared on the screen was not Victor, but Galina T., Victor had a completely different goal all this time. Suddenly, strange memories of the previous months surfaced in his mind. Frequent visits to his parents, lengthy conversations with his mother alone, and sudden secrecy suspicions that she drove away from herself. Anna had not spoken to her father's sister, her aunt, for a number of years. They had last seen each other at her father's funeral. Victor then insisted that Anna limit her communication with her father's side of the family as much as possible, citing too many problems, eternal dramas, illnesses, requests for money. Anna looked at the phone doubtfully, as a call at midnight usually does not portend well. At last, she pressed the answer button. "Hello, Anechka, my girl," followed by Aunt Galia's trembling voice on the line. "Aunt Galia, what happened?" On the telephone, a faint sob was heard. "Grandmother. Vera passed away peacefully this afternoon while Anna slept." She had not seen her beloved Grandma Vera in 5 years, and she had only spoken to her on the phone. The doctors say that when the heart is sweet, she simply fell asleep and did not wake up. She was 83, but she hung on like a hero until the very end. Anna closed her eyes, feeling as though a lump was rising in her throat before her eyes appeared. Her gray hair gathered in a bun, her warm hands smelling of apples and cinnamon. "I am so sorry. Aunt Galia, I'm so sorry I wasn't there. Don't blame yourself, girl." Her voice became a little stronger. "Grandma knew you had your own life, and she always loved you and asked about you. It seems to me that she was waiting for something important." Anna listened, and tears came down her cheeks. This was another betrayal, but this time it was her own. She wasn't there for her grandmother in her final years. On top of that, Anechka's will states that you must be present when it is read. "I don't understand me either," Anna said, recalling the old house on the outskirts of Severodvinsk with its modest furnishings and grandma's meager pension as a teacher. "But the notary was very persistent. The will be read after the funeral. You can come, of course, Aunt Galia. I will come on the first train." When the bell ended, Anna sat still for a long time, staring out the window into the darkness. Anna had been shocked by her husband's treachery and the death of her beloved grandmother, whom she hadn't seen in a long time. "Baby, the most important thing in life is not money but honesty. If a person is capable of betraying you in small things, he will betray you in big ones too. My grandmother died," she said, without turning around, as the familiar footsteps clicked softly in the hallway. Anna remained where she was, staring out the window until her husband's voice sounded conciliatory. "Listen, I understand you are upset, but don't make a tragedy out of it. Mom dreamed of such a house all her life. You don't understand what it was like for her to raise me alone." Grandma Victor scowled as Anna turned to face him. "Tomorrow is the reading of the will," she said quietly. "I'm going to Severodvinsk alone." The Taliati-Arkhangelsk train rhythmically knocked its wheels on the rails. "I need to go to Severodvinsk for a funeral." "When do you care about this strange old woman? You haven't seen her in years, and now we have other problems. We need to decide where to get money for an apartment." Victor drove her to the station all the way, trying to convince her that the trip was pointless and that there couldn't be anything important in the will. Every word he said now sounded false, and she wondered how she hadn't noticed this note of insincerity in his voice before. A sign with the name of a small station flashed by the road to Severodvinsk. The morning light made the landscape outside the window transparent, like a watercolor after a night spent without sleep. After some time to reflect, recall, and comprehend what had happened, Anna pulled an old photo from her bag that she always carried with her. It showed a 6-year-old Anya wearing a blue dress and 2 pigtails standing next to her grandmother Vera against the backdrop of an old lighthouse on the Ugrensky coast. Her grandmother never looked like an elderly woman. Instead, she had straight, well-groomed gray hair and an alert gaze with wisdom and some sort of secret splashed in it. She taught literature at school, knew hundreds of poems by heart, and was fluent in 3 languages. A lighthouse on the shore where they frequently went to watch the sunsets. "Never let others decide who you love," is a quote from Grandma that surfaced in a wave of summer vacations in Severodvinsk. Victor insisted on limiting communication with her, calling her a strange old woman. Anna closed her eyes, and memories came flooding back in a wave. The house was an old house on Portovaya Street with carved frames and a creaky veranda. The kitchen smelled of apples and cinnamon. The city where she spent her childhood seemed familiar and alien at the same time. After 5 years away, something had changed elusively, or she herself had changed. Aunt Galia was waiting on the platform in an old raincoat and with a well-worn sea hat. Anna fell asleep to the monotonous clatter of wheels, but the dream was restless. She saw her grandmother standing on the lighthouse, waving her hand in an attempt to say something, but the wind carried away the words. Sieverodvinsk greeted her with a light rain and a sea wind. Anna felt as though she had returned home when the taxi drove them down familiar streets, including Sovetskaya, where she had run to school, Lomonosov, where she and her friends had seen their first movies, and the Veteran Square, where her grandmother had taken her to feed the pigeons. She grew old and slouched, but her eyes remained kind and attentive, so much like those of grandmother Vera, a Nechka girl. Anna took in every detail as if she were making up for 5 years of being away. Auntie waved her hand, and we creaked slowly, but it's a pity for Grandma because she waited until the very last day. The day before that day, she went to the library to change books, and they drove up to a familiar house on Portovaya Street. It's a 2-story wooden house with large windows and a glassed-in veranda. Anna felt her breath catch because so many memories are connected to this place. Nothing has changed in the house. The same bookshelves all the way to the ceiling and the table by the window where Grandma checked students' notebooks that. Aunt Galia put the kettle on and said, "You're probably tired from the road. Rest, and I'll cook dinner in the meantime." Then they sat in the kitchen drinking tea with Grandma's jam, and Aunt Galia told them about the last years of Grandma Vera's life. "She always asked about you, kept all your childhood drawings, and sent postcards. I don't understand why you stopped coming," Anna said, lowering her eyes. The same old sofa, on which Anna loved to read, now looked abandoned and quiet, as if the house knew that its mistress was no longer there. "Your husband, forgive me, is not a very smart person." Vera Nikolaevna was the most educated woman in our city. She knew 3 languages. She helped children from poor families for free. She taught them literature and history. "You and Grandma never talked about her past," said Aunt Galia, snorting. "Your husband, forgive me, is not a very smart person." Anna added, "I only know that she taught at school and that my grandfather died before I was born." "It's not my place to tell Vera Nikolaevna what and when to open for you tomorrow at the will reading," Anna said. After helping her aunt with dinner, they went to their rooms and made her bed in Grandma's bedroom. Anna fell asleep on the familiar bed and breathed in the faint scent of Grandma's perfume. In the morning, they were awakened by the doorbell, and on the threshold stood Stepan Arkadyevich, a dapper gray-haired man in a formal suit. Aunt Galia opened the door for the visitor, Anna. "It's Stepan Arkadyevich." The notary, who handled all of Grandma's affairs, was happy to meet Anna despite the sad circumstances. He shook her hand and said, "I know your grandmother for many years was her great friend. The reading of the will has been postponed until tomorrow." He said, "The presence of some people who will be able to come only in the evening, but I have something for you Vera Nikolaevna asked me to give you personally." After the funeral, Anna accepted the sealed envelope from the inside pocket of his jacket and said, "Now I can't step in." Arkadyevich nodded sympathetically. "Of course. We are waiting for you tomorrow at 3 o'clock in the afternoon in the building of the old library on Sovetskaya." The day went by as if in a fog, with a small church hosting a surprisingly large number of people who spoke about Grandma with great respect and love. Anna listened to their stories and realized how little she knew about the life of the closest person. At that point, there was a cemetery with a cool sea breeze, a gray sky, and earthen pebbles falling properly on the coffin's lid. Anna stood without crying. "If you are reading these lines, it's time to learn the truth. I was never just a teacher because you believed that my life was full of secrets that I could not even reveal to you, my dearest person today." That rolled down her cheeks, part of her childhood, part of herself forever left with her grandmother returning home after the funeral. She took out the envelope that the notary gave her and slowly opened it to find a letter written in her grandmother's familiar handwriting, clear with beautiful cursives on the letter R. "I always told you not to let anyone decide who you love. I broke this rule once, and it caused me a lot of pain. Do not repeat my mistakes, baby. At the bottom of the box you remember from childhood, the same one with silver patterns, you will find the key that will open for you more than I can tell in this letter. You learn about the inheritance that I left you, but the most valuable inheritance is not money or things, but the truth about our family, about love that was stronger than fear, about the choices I made. With a beating heart, Anna took the letter and opened it to find old photos, letters, and documents. She started to go through them. I was able to say everything I knew in my life, but know that every moment spent with you is happy, because your grandmother is always with you. Anna was on her knees, feeling an unfathomable sense of excitement growing inside. What kind of box was her grandmother talking about? It was a familiar carved wooden box with silver trim from her childhood that her grandmother never let her look inside. The past abruptly came to life in front of her eyes. This picture shows a young, gorgeous grandmother with delicate features wearing a beautiful dress. On the back of the picture, a tall man is holding her by the shoulders. The inscription reads, Leningrad, May 1968. Anna kept receiving pictures of her grandmother in various cities, including Moscow, Kiev, Riga, and again Leningrad. The letters were written in a firm male handwriting and were filled with tenderness, passion, and a hint of secret sadness. At the bottom of the box, Anna discovered what her grandmother had written about an old key with an intricate head and a small note about an old lighthouse on the Agrensky coast. 3 steps from the bottom on the right side, a phone call interrupted her thoughts. Victor called for the first time since she left. Hello, Anna answered, surprised at how detached her voice became at the sound of his name on the screen. Hello, how are you? Victor's voice sounded deliberate. The funeral has already taken place, so yes, today indicates that you will be returning soon. We need to have a serious conversation about money and our future. I'm not sure when I will return tomorrow to read the will, but Victor's voice changed. There were notes of interest in it. What could your grandmother have that had any valuables? Don't call her that, Anna snapped back. Her name was Vera Nikolaevna. Okay, don't be angry, just curious. This is all a waste of time. Remember how modest the house she lived in? What if after what happened to our money, it would be fair? There was a pause, and then Victor said in a tense voice, I'll come. Why support you? Of course, I'll buy a ticket for the morning train, and I'll be in Severodvinsk by lunch. Anna started, but Victor had already disconnected, and she glanced at the phone with increasing annoyance. Clearly, her husband was only interested in a potential inheritance. A knock on the door diverted her from her melancholy thoughts, and a woman about her age, with bright red hair, stood on the threshold. Your grandmother was a wonderful woman, and they sat in the kitchen drinking tea and remembering their early years. Marina lived in Severodvinsk, worked in a local newspaper, was married, had 2 children, and you liked this Victor of yours. Anya, it's true that you can't be Anna. She didn't recognize her right away, and then gasped in surprise. Marinka Marina Solovyeva was Anna's best friend in childhood and adolescence. The 2 women hugged, laughed, and wept at the same time. When Anna was good, she remained silent and then talked about what had happened before she left, including money, betrayal, and her doubts. You know it's never too late to change your life, Marina said thoughtfully. I always knew that you deserved more, and your grandmother was not delighted with your choice. What do you mean, Marina? Maybe I shouldn't tell, but sometimes your grandmother shared with me that she was very worried that you married a man who alienated you from your family, from your roots. Choose to inquire. Marin, how long have you known my grandmother? She never discussed her history or her identity before to relocating to Severodvinsk. Marina took a hard look at her. What a wonderful woman your grandmother was. Few people in the city understood the truth about her history, but many thought she was an oddball. Remember the ancient lighthouse on the shore of Agrensky? Is that where it all started? Anna trembled. What are you saying? Marina gave a headshake. There is someone who knows more about this story than I do. Keeper of the lighthouse, Mikhail Stepanovich. Your grandmother. I was friends with him until the last days, and tomorrow I can introduce you to him. After Marina left, Anna went back to the box and found more pictures, but one in particular caught her attention. It showed a young, beautiful grandmother standing next to a tall, attractive man against the backdrop of an opulent mansion. On the back, it read, "My only faith, let everything be taken away, but our secret will not be found, Pecha 972. Anna couldn't sleep for a long time, wondering what secret connected you to this man. Anna woke up in the morning with a firm resolve to solve the mystery of her grandmother's past, discover who Vera Nikolaevna truly was, and begin standing from the lighthouse on the Ugrinsky coast as the fog over the White Sea gradually dissipated. She had a dream about the mysterious past of her grandmother, the impending reading of the will, and the unexpected arrival of Victor. She was standing on a lighthouse with the sea raging below, and someone was calling her by name, but she could not hear the words due to the noise of the waves. Anna walked along the wet sand, holding an old key in her pocket, as the gray water surface and the silhouette of the old lighthouse on the Ugrinsky coast opened up. The morning air was full of salt and freshness, bringing back memories of her summer days spent here with her grandmother, who would often come here to greet the dawn and tell her fascinating stories about sailors in far-off places and ships that went to sea and never came back. The lighthouse appeared abandoned, with peeling paint on the walls, a rusty door, and broken glass in several upper-story windows. There was a huge lock on the door, so Anna decided to walk around the lighthouse once more. On the other side was a small extension with a separate entrance, so she knocked, and the door opened almost instantly. An elderly man with a weathered face and alert blue eyes stood on the threshold, his gray hair gathered in a careless ponytail, and tiny drops of sea water tangled in his beard. Marina had mentioned that if the caretaker Mikhail Stepanovich was still employed here, he should have arrived before dawn. "I knew you would come, Mikhail Stepanovich." Anna felt uncomfortable. "My name is Anna, and I am the granddaughter of Vera Nikolaevna Sokolova. I was told that you were acquainted," and the old man's eyes widened, and a warm smile appeared on his face. "Anna Farina, granddaughter Lord, how you have grown since I last saw you when you were around 12. Come in quickly," and the extension turned out to be surprisingly cozy, a small room with a stove, a table by the window filled with cutlery and maps, bookshelves along the walls, and an old armchair covered with a blanket. After setting the kettle on the stove, Stepanovich pulled a tin box of tea, 2 cups, and a vase of jam out of the pantry. "Have you known my grandmother for a long time? You will definitely come back, but I just didn't think that under such circumstances," he remarked. "Please pardon me," Anna said as she sat down at the table. Mikhail Stepanovich paused for a second, staring out the window at the sea as though attempting to make sense of something significant that had happened nearly 50 years ago on the day she first appeared in Syeverodvinsk. She was young, attractive, and extremely afraid. The old man sighed and poured tea into mugs, saying, "I know very little about the past to my grandmother." She never told the old man. "It's not my business to tell, but since Vera left and you're here with the key to the hiding place," he nodded at Anna's pocket where the key was lying. "It means she wanted you to find out the truth." Anna involuntarily touched the pocket. How did he know about the key? "Vera showed it to me." The old man grinned at her surprise and said, "The day will come when her granddaughter comes to the lighthouse with this key, and then I would have to tell the story. In your mind, your grandmother wasn't always Vera Sokolova, a teacher from Syeverodvinsk. She was once Vera Samoilova, the wife of one of the most powerful people in Leningrad." Samoilova Anna recalled the inscription on the back of the picture and the representative of the company Samolov Development, which the notary Igor Samolov mentioned was a brilliant architect who continued Mikhail Stepanovich, who designed dozens of buildings in the Union's largest cities, government institutions, concert halls, residential complexes, and government buildings, but his primary. They met at Leningrad University, where your grandmother studied literature and Igor taught architecture. It was love at first sight, and a year later they were married and had a daughter, your mother Elena. Anna shuddered, barely remembering her mother who died in a car accident. The project was the House of Arts in Leningrad, a building ahead of its time. She listened, holding her breath before her eyes, and she saw pictures from her grandmother's jewelry box. Anna spent the majority of her childhood with her grandmother after her father remarried when she was 4 years old. In the early 1970s, Igor was given a massive government order to design a whole block of upscale housing for high-ranking officials. money, recognition, influence. However, Igor refused, instead pursuing his own project, a residential complex for regular people with playgrounds, parks, libraries, and modern, comfortable, and beautiful amenities. Persecution started after he was accused of embezzling public funds in connection with foreign agents involved in anti-Soviet activities. Igor Samilov Mikhail Stepanovich shook his head and was sent to a camp somewhere in Siberia. Vera was able to pass him a note through a trusted person, and Igor responded that he loved her and her daughter, that they should flee. In 1972, Igor was arrested, their property was seized, your grandmother and little Elena ended up on the streets, and friends turned away out of fear of retaliation. The only person who helped was Igor's younger brother Alexei, who organized Vera and her daughter's escape from Leningrad. I was a long-distance captain once, and Alexei Samilov was a navigator on my ship. We were friends when his brother was arrested, so Alexei asked me for help. I had just retired and was planning to settle down in Severodvinsk. How to start a new life as far as possible. Your grandmother ended up here with a new name and a new biography, and I swore to Alexei Samilov that I would take care of them. Anna looked at the old man in awe, and the old man grinned sadly. I was born in Severodvinsk, so I met Vera and little Elena at the station and helped them start over. He got up and went to the window. Your grandmother was a strong woman who never complained even though she lost everything. Her home, her beloved husband, her social standing, and her job as a literature teacher at a school. She raised her daughter and became well-respected in the city, but she never forgot Igor. Every day, she went to the shore and gazed at the sea as though she was waiting for him to come get her. But what happened to her grandfather? He never returned, Mikhail. Why didn't Grandma ever tell me about it? She was afraid, the old man replied, simply fear. Stepanovich shook his head and died in the camp. 2 years later, Alexei learned of it and told Vera that it was a terrible blow, but she found the strength to live on for her daughter. Then you came along, and life took on a new meaning. Anna felt tears welling up in her eyes. She couldn't imagine her grandmother, who was always so reserved, calm, and wise, as a young woman who had gone through such a tragedy. Anna recalled her grandmother's advice to never let others decide who you love, and how it now has a deeper meaning. Mikhail Stepanovich went to the old chest of drawers, pulled out the top drawer, and took out a tattered envelope that read, "Vera left this for you, said to give it to me when you come with a key." Anna took the envelope with shaking hands, and inside was an old photo of her grandfather Igor Samilov, and Mikhail Stepanovich said, "Let's go." They ascended the lighthouse's narrow spiral staircase, the old steps creaking beneath their feet. On the third flight, Mikhail Stepanovich stopped and pointed to one of the steps here on the right side. "A small note, now you know the truth, Anechka. Our family was destroyed by the greed and envy of other people. Don't let this happen again in your life. The key you hold will open the hiding place in the lighthouse. The third step from the bottom on the right side there is what is rightfully yours. Use it wisely." Anna bent down and studied the step closely. She didn't see anything unusual at first, but then she saw a tiny, hardly noticeable split in the wood. After inserting the key and turning it, a little hiding space was revealed when part of the step shifted to the side, and there was a click. There was a metal box within. When Anna removed it and opened it, she found antique, well-preserved documents, wills, contracts, and certificates of ownership, yellowing with time. "Is this what I believe it to be?" As she went through the documents, she inquired. When Igor was taken into custody, according to Mikhail Stepanovich, Alexei was able to preserve some of the documents pertaining to his brother's property. After perestroika, some of Igor's buildings were registered to false individuals. Alexei started to reclaim the Samilov family's rights to this property and established the Samilov Development Company, which currently owns real estate in multiple cities. Anna was taken aback to learn that a modest teacher from a small town in the province had been the heiress to a substantial fortune for a long time. Mikhail Stepanovich went on to say, "Vera was never interested in money. Prior to his death, Alexei drew up documents securing Vera and her heirs' rights to the company. Vera was supposed to sign them last week, but she was pressed for time, So they went down and went to the shore where the sea was calm and the sky gradually became calm. She allowed Alexei to run the business, but insisted that a portion of the profits go to charity scholarships for students at architectural universities, grants for young architects, and social housing. As it became more apparent, Anna was astounded by everything she discovered. Her quiet, unassuming grandmother had such a remarkable destiny, and she asked Mikhail Stepanovich, who smiled, why her grandmother had lived so modestly if she could have afforded a completely different life. Vera always replied that true wealth is not in money, but in the freedom to be oneself, because she was afraid that luxury would change her and cause her to forget who she truly was. She also did not want to draw attention, even after decades, because she was worried that the past might catch up with her or harm Elena, and then you. When Anna got back to her grandmother's house, Aunt Galia was already there, worried about her long absence. Where were you? Soon going to read the will, and you didn't even eat breakfast at the lighthouse. Anna Rasina replied, still processing what she had heard. Aunt Galia, you knew about grandmother's past about her grandfather. Aunt lowered her eyes, but not everything. It was too painful to recall. At breakfast, Anna told her aunt about the conversation she had with Mikhail Stepanovich regarding the documents discovered about the development company itself. I knew that these lawyers had been hanging around Grandma for a reason in recent years. Aunt Galia nodded, and they kept asking about you, and when you would arrive. The doorbell interrupted their conversation, and Victor, wearing a new suit, a bouquet of flowers, and a fake smile, stepped towards her with open arms. I was so worried about you that Anna took a step back and refused to be hugged. Hello, Victor. I didn't expect you so early. I bought a ticket for the night train so that I would be in time for the reading of the will to support you in trying times. I came all this way to support you, and now you're protesting about money, Victor. When Anna hints at his true motivations, you say, "Forgive me for not coming to meet you." Anna said coldly, I was busy with family matters, of course, I understand. Victor walked into the house, unceremoniously looking around. So, when is this a legal procedure at 3 o'clock in the building of the old library? Great, we still have time. There is a good law firm in Severodvinsk, and I have already inquired there. Anna looked at her husband without recognizing him. Did she really live 8 years with him without seeing his true face? Did he change, or did she change in some way? Victor smiled, but his eyes remained cold. Listen, Anechka. I know you are upset about the money I gave Mom, but now is not the time to offend. If your grandmother truly left something valuable, we need to be ready. Perhaps a consultation with a lawyer will be necessary. Aunt Galia cleared her throat after learning the truth about Grandma's true strength and dignity. I think I'll go to my room and get ready, Anna. You should also change before such a significant meeting. Left alone with Victor, Anna felt a strange calmness as all of her doubts and worries from the previous few days gave way to clarity. She saw her husband as calculating, selfish, and petty, and it no longer caused her any pain. It only surprised her that she was so wrong. The old city library building on Sovietskaya Street was constructed at the start of the 20th century, and its high ceilings, marble columns, and oak panels on the walls created a sense of solemnity and significance for the events taking place in the large hall. Notary Stepan Arkadyevich, Aunt Galia, and 2 strangers in formal suits introduced themselves as lawyers for the company Samoy of Development. Mikhail Stepanovich, who nodded amiably to Anna and, surprisingly, Marina, her childhood friend. We are all gathered here, and Stepan Arkadyevich looked around at everyone before starting. We've gathered here to read the will of Vera Nikolaevna Sokolova, formerly known as Vera Igorevna Samolova. Anna saw how Victor sat up straight in his chair and shuddered when the name Samolova was mentioned. He had clearly heard about a large company. Stepan Arkadyevich started reading out legal formulations, which were dry and official, but behind them, an incredible picture gradually came to light. Grandma Vera was found to be the owner of a controlling stake in the company's Samoil of Development, which was founded by her late husband's brother. The notary went on. There was silence in the hall as Victor's hand squeezed her palm, a gesture that would have seemed to her recently as a sign of support, but now looked more like avarice. Victor's face changed from mistrust to surprise, then to greedy interest as the will was read. He moved closer to Anna, as if trying to demonstrate marital unity in front of those present. The total value of the inheritance according to the latest estimate is approximately 320 million rubles. Stepan Arkadyevich read, "I bequeath all of my property to my only granddaughter, Anna, in an effort to prevent it from being appropriated, provided that she finds a worthy life partner." With a pleased smile, Victor tightened his grip on Anna's hand. There is one more need, though, and it won't be revealed until Anna has decided on her marriage. Following the conclusion of the ceremonial portion, Victor's smile dimmed a little. The notary signed the papers after announcing a pause. Victor got up right away and pushed Anna away. "This is our opportunity, my love. We'll purchase it." Anna looked at her husband, and a memory flashed before her eyes the last time she had seen her grandmother 5 years prior, when the grandmother had warned her granddaughter against marrying Victor. I could see in his eyes what I have seen in many cases of greed killing love, but Anna didn't listen because she felt offended and concluded that the grandmother simply didn't want to date him. Not just an apartment, a whole mansion, cars. His eyes were blazingly shining. "You took the 6 million that we've been saving for years and gave them to your mother," Anna said slowly, releasing her hand from Victor's grasp, "and now you think you have the right to inherit." Victor shook her shoulder impatiently, saying, "We need to sort out these papers faster and decide what to do with the company. Maybe we'll sell some of the shares or real estate. I'm already thinking what kind of house we'll buy." Grandma saw everything, understood everything, and I was blind. "What are you mumbling there?" "My grandmother is the person you alienated me from." Victor swelled with idols, saying, "Come on, this is your grandmother." He didn't even mention that she was a millionaire, and now you see that I am bad because I helped my mother buy a house. Yes, if I had known that we would have so much money, I wouldn't have taken our savings, I wouldn't have lied to me, and I wouldn't have tried to control my every move. They stood in the center of the hall, unaware that everyone was watching their argument, and Galia anxiously looked at Marina. The company's attorneys were talking quietly among themselves, and Notary Stepan Arkadyevich came up to Mikhail Stepanovich and said something in his ear. Victor realized he was losing control of the situation, so he took a deep breath, tried to gather himself, and smiled tensely, but falsely, saying, "Listen, Anechka, we're both tired and upset. Let's not quarrel here in front of strangers. Let's sign the documents and calmly discuss everything at home." Stepan Arkadyevich cleared his throat, drawing attention to himself, saying, "I ask everyone to return to the table. We have one more important detail left. I quote, I wish my granddaughter Anna happiness and wisdom in making decisions. Remember that true love does not require sacrifice and does not tolerate lies. Look closely at the person next to you and ask yourself, this is the one who will go with you to the end of the road. I ask you to think about this before accepting the inheritance." The notary pulled out another document after everyone had taken their seats, and after the main portion of the will was announced, Nikolaevna left a special letter that she asked to be read. Victor twitched uneasily in his chair. The notary went on to say that if Anna accepted the inheritance, she would need to fulfill one more requirement that is written in the sealed envelope. This envelope will only be opened after Anna makes her final decision. Anna felt a strange sense of excitement growing inside of her. What other requirements were there, and why had Grandma made everything so complicated? Her intuition told her that Grandma wanted to protect her from making a mistake and give her a chance to see the true faces of those who are close to her before making important decisions. Grandma was correct. The last twist in the will caught everyone off guard, including Anna herself. However, there is one more requirement that won't be revealed until after Anna decides on her marriage. The victor turned to her, and her poorly concealed fear was evident in his eyes. "Anna, you don't think?" She stood up feeling unusually light. "I need time to think. I will give an answer tomorrow." Anna wandered through the evening in Severodvinsk, oblivious to the rain and passers-by. After reading the will, she declined. Careful thought. Additionally, as soon as the court revealed the story of the unlawful appropriation of common savings, he was ordered to return to Anna half of the money he had given to his mother, Ludmila Petrovna. When Anna learned of the failure of her son's plans and the necessity of returning the money, she became enraged. However, to her surprise, Semyon Ivanovich, Victor's stepfather, called her in secret and offered his support, saying, "I always knew that you deserved better." He claimed that Ludmila and Vidya had always been like this. Money is more important to them. Overall, Anna didn't feel any resentment or desire for retribution. Victor and his mother just stopped being a part of her life, like old clothes that you've outgrown. 3 months after her grandmother passed away, Anna decided that she would manage the business instead of selling it, carrying on the work that Alexei Samilov had begun, but she would also do something different. She would establish a charitable foundation named after Vera Nikolaevna that would assist talented children from Severodvinsk in getting an education at the top universities in the nation. However, she had to. After giving up her master's degree in economics after getting married, Anna chose to study in St. Petersburg, the city where her grandparents first met and where their love story started. However, she had to finish her business in Severodvinsk at her grandmother's house on Portovaya Street. She chose to keep it for the foundation, which will have a headquarters here where kids can get advice, take part in educational programs, and get ready for university admission on the day of departure. They went up to the upper platform of the lighthouse, where Anna first saw her grandfather's archive. All the documents, drawings, and photographs were neatly packed and waiting to be sent to St. Petersburg, where Anna planned to organize an exhibition of Igor Samilov's works. Mikhail Stepanovich took a small medal from his pocket. Anna arrived at the old lighthouse to say goodbye to Mikhail Stepanovich. The old man met her at the threshold, as if he was waiting. "Are you leaving?" he asked, even though he already knew the answer. "Yes, but I will return. Severodvinsk is now my home again." Before she went, Vera requested me to give you this box, saying it would help you remember who you truly are. The package was opened by Anna. "Did your grandfather give this ring to your grandmother?" she said, a knot in her throat, revealing a plain silver band inscribed with the words, "Freedom to be yourself." The elderly man gave a headshake. "No, just before she passed away, this Vera specifically requested it for you. She had faith that you would come back and choose wisely." The ring was placed on by Anna. As though it had been made just for her hand, it fit her hand flawlessly. Mikhail Stepanovich looked at the horizon and said, "You know, your grandmother came here every day and looked at the sea even in recent years when it became difficult to walk, and I always thought that she was waiting for something or someone, and now I understand, she was waiting for you." Anna felt a tear roll down her cheek. "I came back too late, no," and the old man shook his head. "You came back exactly when you should have, when you were ready to see the truth." And they said goodbye, and Mikhail Stepanovich promised to take care of the house and assist with the fund's organization. Anna assured them that she would visit and call frequently. Severodvinsk once more became her city, a place where she felt connected to the past and confident in the future. A year later, on a sunny May day, an odd group of people gathered on the seashore. Teenagers, the first scholarship holders of the Vera Nikolaevna Sokolova Fund, along with Aunt Galia Marina, her husband, and their children Mikhail. Anna stood in front of them, more anxious than when she addressed the board of directors of a large corporation. "We have gathered here to launch the Foundation's first program," she said, adding that 15 gifted children from Severodvinsk would have the opportunity to study at the best universities in the nation. But this is not just an educational program, it is a bridge between the past and the future, between the dreams of one generation and the possibilities of another. Stepanovich is now officially a member of the Foundation's board. My grandmother's words, "Real wealth cannot be spent, it can only be increased by sharing with others," became the Foundation's motto after the ceremony. When the official portion ended and the guests departed, Anna stayed on the shore, the wind ruffling her hair, and the sun was setting, painting the sea in shades of pink and gold. Grandfather Igor Samilov had dreamed of creating a place where people would be comfortable to live, work, and study. "Thank you, Grandma. I finally understood your lesson that true wealth cannot be spent but can only be increased by sharing with others." The men approached her, each holding a lantern, and one by one the lights rose into the sky, creating a path of light. She took a small paper lantern from her bag, the kind that people launch into the sky in memory of those who have passed away, lit a candle inside, and waited until the warm air filled the fragile structure and released the lantern. It slowly rose, caught by the wind, and floated over the sea, a tiny spark of light in the evening sky. Behind her back, an old lighthouse constructed in accordance with her grandfather's design held many secrets and memories. Now, it serves as her lighthouse and a guide to the future that she chose for herself, not because of wealth or status, but because true freedom is to stay true to yourself, your principles, and your heart. Anna stood on the shore looking at this road of light, feeling amazing, calm, and confident. Above the dark water, the sky was filled with dozens of lights reflected in the sea, creating the illusion of a star road, a symbol of new opportunities and hope. That it was the right way for her, Anna took a deep breath of the salty sea air and grinned. There was a lot of work ahead, a lot of plans, and a lot of hopes, but right now, standing on the shore, looking at the lights in the sky, she was completely happy and free. Thank you for spending time with our heroes. If this story touched your heart, please leave a comment, like it, and subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any more heartwarming tales. Perhaps this video will inspire your friends for a significant cause.